Good afternoon and welcome to the program Moment, broadcast on Star Television, the house of communication. Today, guess what? As you can see from the background, you know exactly we are not in the studios. Moment is on the road to the Anti-Corruption Commission's office in Freetown. And my guest, already, I know you've got the answer. When I talk about Anti-Corruption Commission's office, is the head of that commission, Francis Ben Kaifala. Welcome to the program, Moment.
Thank you always, Bill. It's always a pleasure hosting you in my office.
You've not been on the program for a while. How have you been doing? And let us take a look at the past year, 2019, the gains, the hiccups, the headaches.
Well, 2019 was actually the best year for the fight against corruption. Remember, we had a similar meeting, and I told you that 2018 was the best, but our performance in 2019 eclipsed our performance in 2019 in many ways. So, of course, we had more investigations, we had more cases being charged to court, we had more convictions, we had more recoveries, we had greater movement in the international indexes, which is laundering the image of the country. We had greater movement in the perception of the citizens to believe in our efforts in the fight against corruption. More generally, it was a great year for the fight against corruption.
It was a fight against corruption, and you say it was really, really good because from what you just told the viewers. But personally, how has that affected you?
It's a lot. I don't live like a normal human being. My lifestyle is a bit affected when it comes from the personal side, because even during Christmas break, when everybody else was on break, I was with my team in the office and we were looking at the Auditor General's report during that break, because we had to inform the public soon after the Christmas break on what we plan to do with the Auditor General's report, and it's a bulky document, and there are many other issues that were happening. The rice saga, for example.
Before we jump into the rice saga,
happened during the Christmas break, and we had to get involved. So basically, I had no break, I have no leave period, and I give in more time and hours than a normal public servant would.
Let us take a look at the Auditor General's report. What was contained in this report? Maybe you want to share it with the viewers.
Well, the report basically covered the year 2018, but what we discovered was that in addition to 2018, there were many other outstanding audits which the Auditor General's department engaged in, and those findings were included in that 2018 report. So it's wider than 2018. It covers more issues than 2018. The figures that are stated there cover periods that go way back to 2013, 14, 15, 16, 17, before 2018. But we found out that there is a lot that has to be done in terms of accountability and transparency and discipline, particularly financial discipline and procurement discipline within the public service. And that is what we are now trying to work with the various stakeholders to be able to effect change for the good.
In what areas did you find out some anomalies like you just mentioned?
I mean, several ministries, starting with the Ministry of Finance, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Ministry of Local Governments, various departments. There were the National Revenue Authority had some work to do, as always. Of course, they are in charge of the fiscal, the revenue collection, and there could be outstanding amounts owed by certain taxpayers, and many issues made traversing various sectors of public life, and we found issues. And of course, we know that the total amount which the Auditor General had published as being lost by the country in terms of those financial problems is about 140 billion euros. So really, it covers a wide sector, and we are trying to see what we can do to reverse that kind of really striking statistics.
So how soon would you come out to the public and tell them about your findings on the Auditor General's report?
We are working with Parliament because, as you know, the Constitution mandates Parliament to debate audit reports, and they are very protective of that jurisdiction. We are working to clean up the accountability space. So we don't want a situation of confrontation. We rather prefer a situation of positive engagement and understanding that we are all working within the public space, and then to be able to move forward with doing our work. So we are currently engaging Parliament to make sure how we can jointly synergize and within the shortest possible time take action on that report.
Take action on that report. You sound so very good. But some people have been saying that the Anti-Corruption Commission is selective in what you're doing. You're not going out for everyone that is involved in corruption. True or false?
Firstly, that is totally unfounded. It has no basis. We are an evidence-based and an evidence-led institution. Every case that requires our intervention, we have intervened, and it does not matter whether it is the past, the present, or the future. We have done what we can do within our mandate, and we are not selective at all. In fact, we are eager to deal with cases on a wider scale than ever before. The sectors that the Anti-Corruption Commission has touched in this short period when I have been here is unprecedented. We have investigated the military, we've investigated the judiciary, we have investigated senior government officials in the current government. We have even tried and convicted some. Some are under investigations as we speak. We have investigated past government officials. We have tried and convicted some. We have recovered monies from them. Generally, that position that we are selective in our approach is unfounded. However, the public sometimes come up. For example, somebody wakes up in the morning and says $1.5 million was used to bribe the chief minister and it laid in some account. We as an investigative body, we check and we found out that this is unfounded. Even the person who raised the story, up to date, cannot even come up to show that $1 fell in the chief minister's account. But the public will use that to say we have not taken action against the chief minister. No, that is in fact selective, not our part, but it is selective on the part of the public because they are after certain public officers. What I am not going to do at the commission is to allow the commission to be weaponized, both by the public or by the political elite, because it can happen. Even the public can decide to weaponize the commission. So they don't like a particular public official, they believe they can use the commission to get rid of that public officer. No. If you want to do that, bring evidence, bring a lead that can take us to the evidence, and then we use it not because we want that public officer out, but because there is a reason for the public officer to be investigated and action be taken. So that is those are the conflict points that we have to navigate. Some people want to weaponize the commission either against the past regime or the current regime. And we are here to say, no. We are very professional in our work, and we are looking at the evidence. The rule at the ACC is follow the evidence. When there is no evidence, there is no action.
So who are the ministers in the current government and officials that you've investigated and now?
For example, at the beginning, we had several complaints against Dr. Dennis Sandi, the Minister of Lands. We investigated them. Some of them were borderline abuse of office issues. We took action. Our action at the ACC is not always about charging people to court or recovering monies from them. Sometimes administrative action, we refer to the person who has authority to supervise the person to take action. So for example, when Dennis Sandi was doing things in the western area and the Creole community were unhappy about it, we took the issue to the president to say, this is happening, I think it needs your attention. Not because if there was corruption, we could not have gone after Dr. Sandi, but because the evidence was tenuous, it was borderline, it was about determination of ownership to land. We don't determine who owns land in the Anti-Corruption Commission. But if there is evidence of corruption, then we'll go after it. And there was really not that kind of clear-cut evidence of corruption against him. He was just doing things that people thought was a bit overboard and so we prefer to approach it from an administrative standpoint, and we took it directly to the president, who was able to intervene, held a meeting with the Creole community, referred the issue to the vice president to look into, and I'm sure many things have happened to change the situation. Another investigation which came to our attention in the current regime are those who took Commission of Inquiry's money that was allocated for sensitization in the Commission of Inquiry were there. These were senior staff of the Ministry of Information. We went in, investigated speedily, tried and convicted them, and a custodial sentence was imposed upon them, which they are currently serving, or even though the case is under appeal. There is also recently the issue involving the Chinese rice, which involves a very senior minister of the current regime, the deputy minister of the current regime, and various other stakeholders in the Ministry of Education and beyond. Those issues are currently being investigated. We did not sit down and say we will not take action against them because it involves the current regime. Dr. Serafinda Bendu was working at the Sierra Leone Maritime Authority. She was appointed by the current president. We investigated, and we are able to conclude that investigation, and we are currently recovering about 800 million loans from her. She's also standing trial on another file that happened at the SLMA. So basically, I can go on and on and on with issues we are investigating. Some of them don't go into the public light because we still investigate and there is no evidence. Even the chief minister's issue was investigated. We could have said, no, it is the chief minister, let nobody call us into the issue. But when we got information about the bribery allegation that the chief minister was bribed $1.5 million into an account at EcoBank, we went to EcoBank and sought not only a written confirmation from them that chief minister does not have an account with EcoBank, but we also went ahead and checked every account in EcoBank to see that there is no such transaction and nothing happened. That is an investigation. So to say we are selective in our approach is really not correct. It's totally unfounded, and I challenge anybody to bring evidence against a sitting government official in the current government that has been brought to our attention and we did nothing about it. But most times people want us to act on speculation, and I am not here to act on speculation. We follow the evidence, and if there is no evidence, we cannot do anything.
The rice saga that you are investigating right now, maybe at this juncture, you would want to inform the public what happened, what transpired as far as investigation is going on, so that they can understand.
Well, the rice saga, we got information that at a warehouse in Waterloo, several bags of Chinese aid rice was being repackaged and resold. So we acted on that investigation. We went there, and the owners of the warehouse informed her that a particular lady was responsible for bringing the rice to the warehouse. We went and arrested the lady, and we were able to connect the lady to the Ministry of Education. We then went to the Ministry of Education, and we were able to see that there were several actions by senior staff of that ministry that led to this rice being available in the public for sale or otherwise distribution, or otherwise it was being improperly accessed by other persons who were distributing them. And then we zoomed in on that, and we were able to take the steps that we are currently taking. The investigation is still ongoing. Corruption investigations are not always straightforward, but we are doing our best to make sure we conclude it as early as possible so that necessary action can be taken. But in the meantime, we are very grateful to His Excellency the President, whose attention was drawn to this issue in the ministry, and in support of our work and to show a complete dedication to it, he was able to release some of the officials in the ministry who we found had a role to play in what happened. So we are very thankful to the president for taking that step. We did not ask him to release them, but after seeing the evidence we have, he decided to take action as an administrative person to say, okay, whilst you are doing your investigation, I think these people should step aside until you conclude. So that's a really, really important action done by the president. It sends the right message, and of course, it gives us more room to be able to do a thorough job at the Anti-Corruption Commission.
Head of the National Network of the Anti-Corruption Institutions in West Africa, what does that mean to you, and how have you created impact in this institution?
Well, yes, at the close of last year, I was elected the president of National Anti-Corruption Institutions in West Africa, NACIWA. And that really takes leadership to ensure a proper coordination of all anti-corruption institutions in West Africa, to also see how we can synergize our activities to support each other in our efforts in the different sister countries, and to be able to create impacts not only in ECOWAS but also in the African Union and the UN as a whole, so that we can have a collective voice. I, as the president, is the face and voice of that institution, and what I have done after I have come in is to try to revive the institution. By early February, we are going to meet ECOWAS, where we can discuss how ECOWAS can support our work and help us work. At the end of February, we are having a conference in Mali where we are going to discuss asset recovery, because some countries understand and accept asset recovery. Like, for example, in Sierra Leone, we are now doing commissions of inquiry so that at the end of the day, public officers who acquired ill-gotten wealth can be recovered. We in the ACC have engaged in various recovery processes in Sierra Leone, and some properties have been handed over to the government. But in a country like Mali and most of French-speaking West Africa, this is a strange concept. They cannot understand why you should go after people's property. So we are having a huge conference on asset recovery and non-conviction based processes in Mali to help raise awareness about this in West Africa, and to also synergize our efforts in terms of asset recovery in West Africa to reduce the spate of corruption and impunity that happens with public officers. So these are all things we are doing to see how we can synergize and work and produce results in the region, and that is creating as much impact as possible.
Coming back from Mali, now that you just spoken about to Freetown itself at the Anti-Corruption Commission, there you have what they call the Scorpion Squad. Tell the viewers.
Well, the Scorpion Squad is an elite investigation team. They are there to carry out what we call sting operations. They are very efficient, they are highly professional, they go in with precision. So when we receive evidence, for example, that there is corruption happening in a particular area that has to be dealt with swiftly without having to go through the normal processes of sending notices, inviting people to speak, the Scorpion Squad are the ones we invoke. They are the elite force that will go in and quickly bring in the people we want to be arrested, quickly access the evidence that we need to carry out the investigation, and generally to make sure that there is no compromise as far as that issue is concerned. So the Scorpion Squad is just an elite force within the ACC, and they are invoked as and when it is necessary to go in and quickly, with precision, deal with issues.
The people who are there, are they above corruption? Do they do what they are supposed to do?
Well, I have said that they are highly professional. That is why it is an elite squad. It is not every member of the ACC that is part of the Scorpion Squad. It is really highly competent, highly effective and efficient staffers in the investigations department that compose the Scorpion Squad, and those Scorpion Squad are directly under my command. I invoke them to say, I need you guys to come together, and it's made up of both men and women, by the way, and they can go in. You saw them in action against the teachers who were engaging in exam malpractice, as well as the students. You saw them in action at the Sierra Leone Maritime Administration. You saw them in action when the tourists were defrauded at the border. You saw them in action in various areas of Sierra Leone where they have gone in. You saw them in action in support of the BFP. These are the kinds of things they do, and every time they have gone in, they produce clear, undisputed result for the work of the ACC. So it's one of those innovations that came in after I became commissioner to support our work, particularly to be able to strengthen law enforcement in the fight against corruption.
The program you're watching this moment, broadcast on Star Television, the power of communication. And my guest is the Anti-Corruption Commissioner, Francis Ben Kaifala. We're taking a break, and when we come back, Moment continues. second segment of the program, Moment, broadcast on Star Television, the power of communication. Our guest on the program today is the Anti-Corruption Commission boss, Francis Ben Kaifala. Welcome to the program again, Francis.
Always a pleasure sitting with you here.
You recently charged a medical doctor in Bowtown. What is coming out of that now?
Well, there were allegations that the medical doctor took a generator from a medical ward and the generator was taken to his home. We investigated and there was evidence to support that claim, and therefore we proceeded to charge him to court, and the trial is going on. The first appearance was taking place in the Bow High Court, and we are expecting for it to be concluded very speedily.
Now, we saw you took some of the teachers who were involved in examination malpractice in this country at the cutting tree. Since then, have you heard about examination malpractice, or is it still going on?
Well, after taking them to the cutting tree, you know the controversies that arose out of that. The following weekend, the same thing was repeated, and again the Scorpio Squad struck those teachers and arrested some of them as students, and generally we have proceeded to show a robust stance against examination malpractice. We have since amended the law to even make it a stronger offense with a very hefty punishment and fine. So we are still gauging the situation in the country, because what our actions did, and the real good thing about our actions, is that it created a huge awareness on the issue. Some people knew it was happening, but they didn't know the extent to which it was happening. They didn't understand the degree to which it was happening. They didn't understand the prevalence. Even the president now came out, made statements about it. Strong policies were introduced in the ministry. There was a serious restructuring at WAEC, and also the format and systems around examinations have been improved. So we are thinking that a lot has changed since our actions, and it will be all good for the country as we go forward. But we are not going to relent. We are going to continue going after anyone who attempts to try it, and we are ready to take very robust action against them. Our actions have not been deterred by anything that may have happened in the past.
In your own words, how would you describe 2019 for the Commission?
2019 was the great year for the Commission. I mean, the results are there. The convictions were huge. The recoveries was over 10 billion euros in that single year. That is the highest ever recovery in a single year. Properties were recovered in addition to the 10 billion euros, and those properties, if you add their worth to the actual cash that was recovered, is a lot of resources for the country. We have done very well with all indexes. Remember, in 2018 we moved the MCC scorecard to 71%. Now it has been moved to 79%, which is the highest ever, and it's the first back-to-back pass for Sierra Leone in the MCC scorecard. We are expecting Transparency International perceptions, the CPI, the Corruption Perceptions Index, which is the most respected index globally, to come out by next week. And we are very confident that Sierra Leone is going to perform exponentially well. So it's not just to perform well. Like last year we moved one space, but in this case we are expecting that we are going to move considerably several spaces, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 or even higher space. So if we can confidently claim these for a particular year, it tells you that a lot of amazing things happen. And like they say, figures don't lie, and the figures are all in our favor and support, and therefore 2019 was a great year for the fight against corruption. And we thank the President and people of Sierra Leone for their support and commitment to the fight against corruption.
Looking at 2020, Mr. Commissioner, what are your priorities, and how do you think you're going to surmount all the problems at the Commission?
I think 2020 is going to be the year we are going to deal corruption the strongest blow ever. It is the year that converges the past with the present. It is the year that all our commitments in manifestos, our commitments in promises made to the people of Sierra Leone are going to converge. It is the year that the political will in the fight against corruption is going to be stretched and strengthened further. It is the year that we are going to clean up The things that have been in the audit reports year in, year out, and not much has been done about them. 2020 is the year of action, and we are going to make sure that 2020 is an even greater year of success in that regard. So we are not going to relent. We are ready to break barriers. We are ready to stretch the boundaries of interpretations of the law. We are ready to stretch the ambits of our actions and activities. We are ready to take the fight against corruption furthest ever.
What are the areas or what have been mentioned in the Auditor General report that action has not been taken over the years?
You know that over the years, several departments and agencies have been told that this is not happening, you have not done this, you have not cleared things up, you have not retired expenditure in respect of XYZ, and not much has been done. And that is what has accumulated to 140 billion euros. So, and beyond. So, we are basically going to make sure that we do take action so that future audits that come out reflect changes in our behavioral pattern in terms of governance, transparency, and accountability.
The last time I hosted you on the program Moment, Mr. Commissioner, we spoke about ill-gotten wealth in Sierra Leone, and you were going to come up with something that can at least investigate some of the things we're seeing in Sierra Leone today. People don't even operate any form of business, but yet we see how the kind of life they're living, and it's a concern because everywhere you go in the world, if I sit in here talking to you, if I drive a $500,000 vehicle or car in the United States, they're going to do a background check on me. Is this something you have close to your heart?
If you have been following Mr. Weja, you will see that we have taken serious action on that. Not just in terms of what we do with investigations and pursuing ill-gotten assets, but we have first of all tried to strengthen the law. So in the 2019 Anti-Corruption Amendment Act, one of the regime that has been strengthened and expanded is the asset declaration regime, to make sure that public officers' assets, way of life are capable of being tracked. That department is going to be even more active in this 2020 to put into effect the beautiful changes that we have done in the law to give the power to empower the commission to act on it. So for example, before, if you don't declare your assets, not much can be done about it because the law was made in such a way that the commission was weak to act against you. Now it has been strengthened that your salary can be seized and you can be dismissed from public office after a period of time of not declaring your assets. And then you can be charged to court thereafter for non-declaration. So these are all things that are going to set the pace for what we are going to do in that regard. But more importantly, we have been looking into cases of asset declaration and ill-gotten wealth. However, because the Commission of Inquiry is going on, and the Commission of Inquiry is principally dealing with those kinds of issues, we didn't want a situation where we have double action against the same people. So we are waiting to see what the Commission of Inquiry does, so that we can learn from what they have done, we can see how far they went, and then we can tailor our actions going forward based on that. But we now have the law firmly behind us to be able to take action for it, and we're going to do so.
Mr. Commissioner, are you aware of the money laundering in Sierra Leone?
I'm aware of money laundering, but that is the domain of the FIU, the Financial Intelligence Unit. They are principally in charge of investigating and prosecuting money laundering. We are more responsible for the predicate offenses with money laundering, like misappropriation of public funds, abuse of office and position, various anti-corruption offenses in the Anti-Corruption Act. So we are not principally responsible for money laundering. It is the domain of the Financial Intelligence Unit and the Law Officers Department.
So, if someone watching you on the program today and they are thinking how far you've gone with corruption, are you satisfied within yourself that you've created or made the impact?
Oh yes. We are satisfied immensely with what is happening. We believe that what is happening in Sierra Leone is unprecedented. And we say so not because we are praising ourselves,
but because those who appraise our work are saints. Internationally and locally, we are doing extremely well. The MCC scorecard has moved from 49% to 79%. That is a 30% jump. That's never happened in the history of Sierra Leone. The CPI, I have told you we are expecting to move considerably, exponentially in the CPI. But even last year, we moved one space up. But this year, we are expecting to move 8 or 9 or 10 spaces up in the country rankings of the world. We are aware that in the Afrobarometer Corruption Perception Survey, for example, citizens' belief in the fight against corruption was as low as 43%. Now it's as high as 6%. Locally, the IGRD, the survey of citizens' belief in various government efforts. Anti-corruption efforts was second, and the citizens' perception and confidence in the fight against corruption was as low as 19%. Now it is as high as 80%. These figures are very encouraging. They are not just great figures, they are excellent figures. It shows the impact of what we are doing. It shows the degree of perception shift that has happened in the country. It shows the level of confidence that citizens across the country have placed in the Commission. Basically, the Commission is at the center of the social revolution that His Excellency the President is leading in the country. And we are happy that we are part of it and we are supporting it in our own way to make sure that the story of Sierra Leone is told differently. That we restore respectability to the name and image of this country. That public service is public service. That we have servant leaders who are not there to enrich themselves but to better the people's lives. These are all things that we are doing, and the results are coming out, and there is none that discourages us. We are confident that we don't have sacred cows in our work. We have reached areas that nobody ever thought we could ever reach in the fight against corruption. There is nowhere we have not touched. There is nowhere we have not taken action. Even within the presidency, the state chief of protocol, who has been sent on leave, is being investigated as we speak. That is the highest peak of anti-corruption activity and efforts in the presidency. So you can see that these things were things that, there are people who come to my office and say, look, I have lived all my life in Sierra Leone. 40 years, 50 years, some will say I'm now on my way out. What is happening with the fight against corruption in Sierra Leone is something I never imagined would happen in my life. So you see, there are real challenges to what we do. We are not saying that it is 100% perfect. We are not saying that what we do is not subject to public scrutiny. We are not saying that there are not areas of improvement, but what is sacrosanct and clear is that the fight against corruption is succeeding, and we are very happy that that is happening for the country.
Francis Ben Kaifala, the fight against corruption is succeeding. But are you not afraid? You are a family man, you have your wife and kids. Is your wife not worried about the kind of stride you're taking to make a change in the country? You create more enemies than friends?
Well, my wife understands that somebody has to do this job. She has known me for a very long time. That goes way back from when I just finished law school, which is almost 12 years ago. And then she knows the heart that I have. She understands that I am not a person that I basically love to serve humanity. So she understands that I'm ready to take sacrifices. It has put a lot of strain on our relationship because I don't have too much time with us. We have a beautiful daughter who is just 1 year old, and sometimes she does not see me. The work, the time I leave work, the travels that go with it, the commitments. Even when I get home, people are waiting to meet with me, and the phone calls and everything. It really affects everything we do. I have not taken a break since I took up this job. So all these things are there, but somebody has to sacrifice for this country, and I believe my wife, she and I have conversations around this all the time. Sometimes she even cries, but I look at her in the eyes and tell her, look, this country has suffered a lot. And even though the personal is important, but also it is good for us to live for others sometimes. And I am going to balance living for others while I live for myself. I hope she understands this, and I continue to be available when I can, and to be able to make our home a home.
What would you say is the kind of a relationship that exists between you and workers at the Anti-Corruption Commission?
Well, that is the magic, really. The changes, the revolution, the success that we are seeing at the ACC is a testament of how the staff at the ACC accepted me as commissioner, accepted the vision of the president, which I came to implement, and also accept the overall desire and aspirations of the country for the benefit of all of us. So the staff have been very supportive. They understand we are operating under very difficult conditions in terms of resources, in terms of capacity, in terms of even what I can do for them in terms of their welfare. But we have done a lot to make sure that those things are improved, and it is their dedication to service, their sacrifice, that is being reflected in the results that we are producing. It is not something which Francis Ben Kaifala is doing by himself. Yes, I am giving the leadership to what is happening. I am giving the support where I can. But the staff of the ACC are top class. And it is their top classness that is being reflected in the results that are being produced.
What will be your legacy you want to leave at the ACC so that when you're gone, you would always be remembered?
I met Sierra Leone classed as among the most corrupt countries in the world. All the indexes were showing negative. The perception of the people was almost to the bottom, 19%. All of them have been shifted to the exceptional level. The international indexes are moving in the right direction. Every year since I have come, we are going further up. We are moving in an upward trajectory. What I want to leave as a legacy is that belief that it can be done. So when I leave, my successor who comes here will be able to build on what I have done, what we at the team and the team at the ACC have done, to continue the change that Sierra Leone needs. For Sierra Leone to enjoy its wealth, for Sierra Leone to enjoy its resources, for us not to be to the laughter of the world, for us to be a country of men of pride, of women of pride, a people who truly reflect what it means to be on the Lion Mountain and be lions whilst we do it. I want to see a country that prospers, that becomes the example that the world can point to say, yes, this is a country that a lot of things happened that the world regrets, but it was able to pick up itself and move forward. I want to leave a legacy of accountability and transparency that will be an example for generations to come, that the world can point to. Personally, I want to live a life of service to my people, so that when that time comes, when I am all grey, this black hair you see is all grey, they can point to say, there was a man who came and supported presidents succeed, and this is it.
Finally, Mr. Commissioner, what message would you like to leave with Sierra Leoneans who are watching the program right now that still don't want to come out of corruption?
Well, I want Sierra Leoneans to understand that the fight against corruption is for their benefit. The sacrifice we are putting in here is for their benefit. When schools are better, their children develop into educated people, it is for their benefit. When resources that are allocated to provide social services are not paid for, but go towards creating projects that better their lives, it is for their benefits. When generally there are systems and processes that promote transparency and accountability so that individuals do not benefit whilst the collective suffers, it is for their benefit. So we are calling on them to embrace the fight against corruption, for them to get rid of the cynicism that has been planted into them to believe that nothing good comes out of anything, for them to understand that no country has ever changed without human action. Not just prayers. Prayers have to be backed by action. So they have to stand behind us to change the story of this country, to continue producing the results that we can produce, so that those who are in government can be servants of the people. And when they are servants of the people, they can produce results that better the lives of the people. This is their fight. They have to own it. We have no strength of our own except that which they give us. If they understand that, Sierra Leone will be a different country going forward.
On that note, Mr. Commissioner, I just want to thank you and hope to host you back on the program Moment when the time is right or okay.
My doors are always open, and I really thank you for a wonderful interview. You are a great interviewer, and I hope the public appreciate what is being done. Thank you, Bill. Thank you to your camera and crewmen, and I thank you to the television stations that are going to share this program, particularly the Star TV, a great partner in the fight against corruption. Thank you.
Viewers, you've just watched the Anti-Corruption Commission boss. From what you've said, I think you've learned a lot. If you were sleeping, my friends, wake up. Sierra Leone is not for Francis Ben Kaifala alone, or not for me alone, or for other people. It is for everybody. I'm always saying this. Two key words that should be playing in our minds today. Now, the word patriotism, nationalism. You got to be nationalistic. You got to be patriot to move Sierra Leone. And if you look at what he's been saying and from his action, the two keywords are with him: patriotism and nationalism. On that note, I want you all to come on board and think about that, to become a patriot and a nationalist in whatever you're doing for Sierra Leone. Thank you for watching the program, and Moment will be back next week.